Imagine the scene: a baby comes to transform a couple's life, and the help of the family looks like a gift from heaven. This is how Doria and Georgie received the mother-in-law, Tamara Borisovna, with open arms, certain that her support would be fundamental in the early months of Matvey. But what should be a gesture of affection hid a trap that no one could imagine. What began as an aid became a nightmare that almost destroyed not only family goods, but also confidence between them. And the most surprising: this story is not about a common thief, but about how love and loyalty can overcome even the cruel manipulations. It was always suspicious that something was wrong when Tamara, a woman who barely drove her the word, suddenly started to call every day. The questions were strangely specific. How is the new television you bought on time? The washing machine still works well. What cutlery did you win in the wedding? Rather, the mother-in-law barely hid the disdain by her daughter-in-law. Now it demonstrated an almost sick interest in the details of the house. When Matvey was born, the offer of help came as a relief. After all, with a newborn at home and Georgie working late, any support would be welcome. Tamara arrived with 2 huge bags and an attitude of who had taken command. He criticized from the way he would hold the baby to the room, but between one complaint and another, washed clothes, prepared meals and took his grandson for a walk. For a moment, Doria even believed that finally the relationship with the mother-in-law would improve. Until the first signs of alert appeared. A week later, Tamara announced that she needed to look for essential things in her home. As Georgie was traveling for work, she borrowed the car keys. "This microwave here only takes up space. I will take home, it misses myself," he said, without blinking. Doria was paralyzed. The device was new, bought less than a month ago. He tried to protest, but knew his mother-in-law's temperament well. Any discussion would become an epic scandal. The next day, it was the turn of the blender and the coffee machine. "You don't even use it." Doria was the blood to boil, but the tiredness of nights in clear and the baby's cry prevented her from reacting. 2 days later, the vacuum cleaner disappeared temporarily. "Mine broke. As soon as I fix it, I return," Tamara promised. But the vacuum cleaner never came back. And so followed the systematic withdrawal. The new teapot has disappeared. The game of wedding dishes, idem. With each attempt to give complaint, the mother-in-law responded with heavy accusations. "Ingle, I left my life aside to help you, and you do drama because of nonsense. If you don't want my help, just say." The young mother knew that without Tamara, the days would be even more exhaustive. Moreover, the mother-in-law was a master of distorting reality, making her feel guilty about everything. The apex of audacity came when Tamara decided to take the television. "Mine burned. You don't even turn on the device, just stay with this baby on your lap," he argued, while disconnecting the cables. "Tamara Borisovna, this television is ours. We bought the deadline, so no one will pay for you. I need more. After a full day of work, I want to relax, not stay like you, locked at home," replied the mother-in-law, with a cynicism that froze the blood. But the worst was yet to come. When Tamara began to dismantle the washing machine, Doria lost control. "Not this. I need her every day, with Matvey's clothes." "Well, wash by hand. Our grandparents did this." "I, poor thing, have spinal problems, I can't carry weight," said the mother-in-law while calling men to take the appliance. It would cried, powerless, and not to see your house being emptied. In the end, Tamara left, not without first releasing a last barbst. "I never saw so much ingratitude." Then don't come to cry when you need help. What was left was an almost empty house. Doria's calculations were terrifying, about 300,000 rubles in goods taken away. When Georgie returned from the trip, at first she didn't believe it. He traveled each room, opened cabinets, turned drawers. "My mother wouldn't do that," he repeated incredulously. "Call her and ask where our things are," Doria suggested, exhausted. The call confirmed the worst. Not only did Tamara assume theft but attacked. "Of course I took it. Your wife is ungrateful. I spent a month helping, and she lives complaining about each glass. If she prefers this woman to her own mother, then disappear from my life." Georgie tried to argue, but her mother cut any dialogue. He shouted that he had dedicated himself to him all his life and that now estranged he pulled him away from her. That's when something changed inside Daria's husband. He looked at the empty spaces where the television, the microwave, the washing machine was before, and made a decision. Without saying a word, he took the keys from the car and left. Doria thought he would confront his mother, but 3 hours later, Georgie returned with a van and 2 porters. "Come on," he said dry. "We are going to get what is ours." The following scene was from a movie. In Tamara's house, chaos. She ran from side to side, trying to prevent men from taking appliances. "Georgie, how do you dare? I'm your mother." "Precisely for that," he replied, with a firmness he had never seen. A real mother does not steal her own son. One by one, the objects were recovered. Tamara cried, threatened to disinherit him, swore never to talk to him again. Georgie heard everything silent, until before leaving, it made it clear, "When you're ready to apologize to Doria and return the rest, look for me. Until then, there's nothing to talk about." On the way back, Doria could not contain the tears. They were not tears of anger, but of relief and gratitude. For the first time in 3 years of marriage, she felt that her husband had chosen by her side real. "Sorry for not believing you soon," Georgie muttered as they stopped at a signal. "I knew my mother was hard, but I never imagined that I got to that point." At home, while replacing everything in his place, he was more attentive than ever. He helped with Matvey, prepared dinner, did not move a second away. Tamara didn't give up. He called every day, whimpered, spread gossip to the family about the ungrateful son and the cruel daughter-in-law. But Georgie remained irreducible. Without a sincere apology, there would be no reconciliation. This story is not just about a mother-in-law that abused trust. It is about the moment when a man decided that respect for his wife was worth more than blinded loyalty to a toxic relationship. And above all, it's a powerful reminder, sometimes the greatest strength is not in avoiding conflict, but having the courage to face who you love even if it means losing that person forever. For a week, the mother-in-law tried to redeem herself in Doria's eyes. He appeared at his house with an exaggerated bouquet and a box of candy, the sweet voice as a syrup. "Dariochka, my angel, let's make up? Why fight for nonsense? I just wanted to help." But Doria looked at that woman who, a month earlier, had called her ungrateful slut and saw the same manipulation as always. Tamara Borisovna didn't regret it, she just wanted to recover control over her son. "Calm down," Doria asked, "and the other things that disappeared? Where are you?" The mother-in-law's face contracted. "What other things? We have already returned everything. Dishes, towels, bedding." The list was long, but the disadvantage, bigger. If in the family everything is everyone, then until soon, Doria said, closing the door on her face. Tamara Borisovna didn't give up tea. Easy. For a month, he called distant relatives, trying to turn his family against daughter-in-law. He did dramatic scenes, appeared in Georgia's work, but he remained firm. Until, finally, the mother-in-law capitulated. It arrived with 2 bags full of used objects, scratched dishes, faded towels, sheets already washed. "Sorry," he murmured between teeth, as if the words burned her. "I made a mistake." It was not the most sincere request for forgiveness in the world, but Doria accepted him. The important thing was not Tamara's humility, but Georgia's transformation. He had finally learned to put limits. The following years will not erase the tension between them, but something has changed. In the birthdays of the grandchildren, Tamara arrived with gifts, smiled with exaggerated courtesy and, for the first time, avoided criticizing Doria in front of her son. When the couple's second daughter was born, the mother-in-law offered help and Doria politely refused. "Hired a nanny." Tamara pouted, but didn't argue. "I had learned the lesson." Georgie was no longer the same. He had ceased to be the obedient son who automatically took his mother's party. Now he thought for himself, defended his family, and at night confessed to his wife, "Before, I thought to be a good son was to obey without question. Today I know that being a good husband is protecting those who love, even my own mother." 4 years have passed since that day. The children grew up, the marriage has strengthened, and Tamara Borisovna, although still visits the house, now does it as a guest, not as owner. "You know what your place is," Sometimes Doria remembers that month when her mother-in-law was slowly emptied and wonders how she could stand so much time. But she was young, insecure, a first-time mother who feared the confrontation. Today, everything is different. Doria learned to say no. Georgie learned to listen. And Tamara Borisovna has learned, at a high cost, that respect is not required, it is conquered. Or get lost forever.